Alright, this is part 2 of working on my independent study project for animation. I'm doing, of course, character reference sheets, and I'm doing one with Tom from Eddsworld, and I'm going where I left off, separating the body parts from the characters so that'll be easier to animate them one by one. But to let you know, it doesn't mean that it's going to be done frame by frame individually. It basically will all be hand drawn. It's gonna look like it was well, not hand drawn. It's gonna look like it was drawn differently each frame, but I'm gonna animate them as their own parts, kind of, without redrawing them each frame because that makes it easier for me. But it'll look the same either way at the end of the day, so it's not like it matters. So there's me editing the body, taking parts. Okay, so there, now I know what I was doing. I wanted to take parts from the original first body drawing and just put them onto the new one, but I was like, okay, no. So I just redrew it instead. That's what happened there, I guess. Alright, here's me going to the legs. This will also make it a lot cleaner for me to draw over, because in the original sketch, it's like a huge mess. There's just stuff everywhere. That's just generally how I sketch at moments when I do animation, but maybe I should start working on editing that kind of stuff out, but I'm just like, no, I don't have the time for that. This makes the animation faster. And then the shoelace, I think that's what that is, yeah, it's a shoelace. And then all the main parts are pretty much done. Oh, except for that pose. And the next pose. Aha! So this is pretty interesting. You can see me adjusting Tom's hair a bit. Not what I just did there, making him look down, but kind of skewing it. The little spikes on his hair to the left. This will create a bit of a jump back pose where his hair will kind of delay itself a bit in a way when he's on the pose before, like the big main one. And then me adjusting the legs. All I really had to do here was kind of just skew it. That was really kind of basically it. And yeah, there you go. Basically, from there, the main poses have been completed. And you can see me adjusting the hair here. So I was right. I was, at that moment, done with mostly all the poses, except for one. What am I doing? Okay, I don't know what I'm doing here exactly. Oh, I think I'm finding an image reference for something. That's probably what I'm doing here. Yeah, that was probably it. Okay. Because I was only at this moment, I was only showing my Adobe Animate window. So I was doing, when I'm doing this, just clicking in random places, I'm like messing with Google and stuff. I was looking up references on like different Eddsworld episodes with why am I opening a new doc? Oh, this is when I try to add in, I think, a episode of Eddsworld, or import it. Here's me taking reference from Eddsworld in actual time that you're able to see. That was Beaster Bunny. I'm taking inspiration from, I believe, the movement at this time is what I was taking inspiration from. Trying to figure out how the head moves, how they make the heads move. For the style that I'm going with, I should probably mention this too. I'm doing a bit of a mix of, I would say, all the versions, but I don't really think Legacy is exactly included. Which Legacy was like kind of what people thought the end of Eddsworld was going to be when the creator Ed Gould sadly passed away and was worked on by some of his friends, but eventually it continued into Eddsworld Beyond, which is done by Matt Hargraves, or at least run by him. So I'm taking inspiration from Beyond, I think mostly, but also incorporating things from Legacy, which I used the style guide. That's from the some Eddsworld Legacy episode, and using bits and pieces from classic Eddsworld, which is the time when the creator Ed Gould was still working on the animations by himself at the time, but eventually he did pass away. I'm messing with timing here because at this moment I was kind of like, I think the timing's a bit off at this moment, so I kind of was just adjusting it to make it work. And if I were to do that with the actual thing, I wanted to line up the sketch as well, so in case I need to, I can, you know, have it timed similarly with what I'm doing right now. So that was basically the head. Here's me adding in Hammer and Fell. This is a episode that Ed Gould worked on. I think this is one of his. It was one of his last, but you can see me taking inspiration here from, of course, the movements again. And this was me trying to test out how Ed did the tweens, but I didn't really figure that out. But, you know, it happens. To get the FLA, I had to go onto Newgrounds and download the Swift file, and I decompiled it with a Flash decompiler. So again, I don't own that animation. Alright, so this is a couple days later. I don't know if this was today or not. I think this was a couple days later. This is me, I believe, finally getting to everything. Everything has been pretty much animated at this point. Sadly, I do not have the footage of that, but here's me adding in the faces to the character. Tom from Eddsworld, Tom from Eddsworld. And then doing the mouth. You can see at the end of the face there, I kind of made a little border where the mouth goes. Because I don't know, I thought that would be clever, because it would look odd if the mouth overlapped the line of the head. So I did that, and there's me struggling a bit with the eyes, and then me doing the final facial expression. I had to do a bit of taking things from different frames and just editing them to make a new expression. And also you can see that instead of animating on twos, there's one part in the timeline that I animated on ones. That is a tween that was converted into a frame by frame by ones. So it's when he scratches the back of his head. You may see it in a minute in the final, but I took a little bit of inspiration from Classic to do that. And now we're getting to probably the most boring part, which is the line art. When I was doing the line art, I had a lot of trouble with it because it wasn't quite getting the classic Flash look brush that I wanted. And I think I knew that from the start. At that point, I was trying to do kind of a more Beyond line work style. But then I kind of was like, you know what? Whatever. We're going to do the square brush because it more resembles the actual brush from Flash, or that Flash had, because the brush kind of improved. And you could definitely see the difference if you actually used Flash and Adobe Animate at the same time like I do. This wasn't the worst part. Actually, like, doing the lines for the characters was not the worst part. The worst part about doing the line art for this animation, which is something I'll get to in a bit here. And then me doing the head. Of course, the circle was always the hard one. It's weird because as a general artist, like, it's very hard to actually draw certain shapes at some points. Not perfectly, like, no one can draw the circle perfectly the actual way people teach you, but if you do it the way, you know, the actual way you would draw a circle perfectly, but like just doing one regularly, like, you can't do that. Regularly, you can't do that. Then me doing the hood. Trying to get that nice aesthetic look of the pen pressure, and then I had to adjust it so the strings didn't look like they were floating. And me just duplicating some of the line there. Alright, sorry about that. I realized that apparently WeVideo can't handle voice recordings over 10 minutes, so I had to start a completely new recording. Didn't know that, but it's just going to be how it is, because this is going to be a long one, a lot longer than the previous. So I'm doing the line art, and then you can see me here doing the body. And again, I'm not doing the line art for all the different parts of the body. I'm doing what kind of was in the main sketch and making them overlap each other and all that. So, yee. So I'm doing the legs and then the other leg. And me doing the fixing some stuff up. Good lord, that I thought could have been better. Okay. And I think this was me taking more inspiration. Oh no, this was me filling out or testing out color patterns for the characters. I tried doing the colors with the FLA from Hammer and Fail, but that did not turn out so well. I didn't really like the colors on that, so I decided to go for the Legacy style. But eventually I didn't really like the colors for that either, and you'll see me changing them up to the Beyond version of the Beyond color scheme. And then this was my attempt at doing a decent checkered pattern for Tom's shoes, because at the time when Tom Scott was voicing him, and he was friends with Ed, so he gave Tom checkered shoes. And me filling the shoes in. Of course, that was just a test, so I just left that over there to see what the final character would actually look like, colored and all that. And now we're getting to the tedious part, which probably took the longest, which is, I'm gonna call it kind of like the scribble effect, and it's where the line art kind of moves. It's in a weird way, where like you can see it kind of scribble and move around and like wiggle a bit. If you look at like, especially like Eddsworld Beyond, you'll definitely see that a lot, but you don't really see that in Legacy. You do see it, I think, in some of Classic. Like I think you could see it in part of Space Phase Part 1, because Ed worked on that. But then eventually that was the time when he passed away, so it was given to, I think Paul was the guy who did the rest of it? I don't really remember, but... And here's me adjusting the hair, doing all that, fixing that up. Doing the hairlines. And you can see me adjusting the vector part of the line work here, trying to get it sort of similar, but not too similar to the original line work, because I wanted to have that effect, but not be too drastic. And I really hope I can find another way to use this method in a easier light. Like maybe in my style I wouldn't do all this editing, but to get that style kind of just right, the way Eddsworld Beyond does it, I had to like move the line around so much and mess with the shape that this took up almost the whole day for me, which is why I'm going to take a bit of a break and work on the recording for this, so I don't have to do that no more, because that was such a pain. And all the spikes and stuff I had to edit too. That was a nightmare. I probably should have just smoothed it out with the smooth button, but I didn't do that for some reason, because I don't know why. I don't know why I should have done that. Oh, made things much easier. Then me looking at how it looks in the animation, and I think at that point I thought it looked pretty good. Yeah, I pray to God I don't have to do this again. This took forever. Not only that, but I had to do some filming with another person who is in the same class as I am, who's actually in Computer Animation 1, so they're doing things a bit more, I have to say, under-leveled than I am, but like, no hate towards them, because they're not an big animation person like I am. But again, that took up like the whole class period, because of course animation takes a long time. we were doing, I think, pixelmation is what it's called. Pixelation, that's it. Where you use human body people to, you know, animate your character. But yeah, that took a long time, and we're not even done with it yet. But you know, that's just how animation is. But eventually, it's worth it in the end. Because why would I be painstakingly editing each line to make it look the way I want it if it's something I would generally not want to do? Because animation is worth it in the end. The product is worth it. The more effort you put into it, the more it's always worth it. You just gotta kind of keep telling yourself that. You can take breaks though. If you're like, just like, I can't do this, I can't do much more of this, I just need a second. Go ahead and do that, and heck, if your animation doesn't have like a due date or something, like you can just take your time on it. It's a project that you don't really think is a big deal or anything. We're getting to the point where I am almost done. You can see me here doing the shoes and everything. Sorry if you hear so many people talking in the background. Again, I'm doing this at my school, because, you know, I'm taking my independent study there, not at home, doy to doy. But it's just the reality, because there's not really a very good microphone here. They don't really have that, I don't think, at least for students to use, which is fine. I mean, it's a school. No kid is going to need a big old fancy-dancy microphone. Yeti Pro or whatever. Okay, there we go. We're back. And not really much to say about this anymore, because it's just me doing the same thing, which, again, this is a slow process, so it's gonna take a while to get done, but it's always worth it in the end, eventually. Lots of more of doing this. I did not like it. It was not fun.
Alright, so I have a different mic now. This is one that's at my house, because I had to finish recording this at my house. But, still doing line art here. Nothing much. Picking out the legs. Pretty close to done, though. So that was the good part. I could get to actually doing the rest of the poses and everything. And you can see me duplicating the frame, so I don't have to redraw it over and over. And this is the part where I decided, you know what? I'm gonna change the color palette, because I don't really like the color palette that I used here, which will happen in a second, but just not now. And here's me doing the line art for the next pose, the one where he's a bit more shocked, when he gets hit in the back with Thor's hammer. I don't know why I just did the full head line shape there instead of doing it separately. And at that point, I forgot that I wanted a little in-between part in the neck of Tom there. Instead of it just being one whole line around his neck, it's like cut in half, so the head is more connected to the neck. So I fixed that up. So we're doing the teeth and the mouth, filling that in. And then the eyes, me adjusting it again. Hair, very simple. Just a couple little spikes, I think I chose Tom instead of any of like Ed, Matt, or Tord, because I think he had the simplest design out of all of them. That's my opinion, though. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they all have complicated parts, but I think Tom was the easiest for me to do. That's what it looked like, at least. I feel like every single time I drew the strings, they were a bit different and drastic from before I drew them on the previous frame. But I left that in because I kind of liked how they were morphing, because that feels a bit more realistic. So I kind of just kept it in because why not? In the pockets, because his hands are out of the pockets. And this is when I got an image and changed up the color palette that I wanted to use, like I said before. And then I filled in the shoes, everything. Sooner or later, I'll switch to my actual home computer that I use to work on this and finish it up. And then shoes were a bit harder because I realized later on that they were very uneven. Well, not uneven, they were like, the lines weren't completely flat on the ground, so I had to kind of edit those at some point. This is the kind of bounce pose for Tom after he gets hit. Well, at least this is one of them. And then I adjusted the strings because I thought they were a bit too big at that point. And then the face, again, usually just duplicate the eyes. No problem doing that. Then the next pose. All right, here's the moment where I switch to my actual computer, because you can see that the taskbar's changed and I'm now on Windows 11. This was a bit more easy for me to do because the tablet I have at my school doesn't have a screen on it. It's just, you use it kind of like a mouse. It doesn't have an actual screen you can look at while drawing. But this one did. It was a bit easier to use. It still is, but I've gotten used to the tablet I also have at my school. So, yeah. Not like there's that much big of a difference. Me measuring out the line art. And then I traced over the previous strings that I made because the body part pass thing, whatever that's called, didn't have them. So I had to take reference from the previous frame. Me fixing how I want the legs to look. Arm. His fingers are behind the hand, by the way. They're not in view of the camera. Just to let you know in case you're confused. This is why he has a ball hand. The ear was probably the hardest thing, in my opinion, at least, to get right the first try. That probably shouldn't have been. Because I think that the head was the hardest, but that makes sense. But the ear being the trickiest just didn't make any sense at all. But I eventually figured it out, and it turned out all right. Again, shape of the strings changed. But I think that is a nice detail, in my opinion. I'm wondering, I'm going to have to ask her if she wants to show this, my teacher, for computer animation, if she wants to have me present this to the class, but I don't know. I don't know how that's going to happen, but this is kind of the video I have for the reflection on the project. Well, this is one of them, because I'm not exactly done with it. I still have to make 2 more animations done with different characters. I think the next one's probably going to be Homer Simpson, because I definitely know that there's some model sheets for him out there, character reference model sheets for him. At this moment, I looked at the mouth and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? I need to give it teeth. So I give the mouth teeth. Took reference from a image. And then you can see me here turning this frame into a symbol because it's going to have a bit more of a different animation or a bit more actual animation going on in it. So I split it up into different pieces, and also to make it look like the arm was behind the head but was part of the body. Me doing the second line art, tracing it over for the little squiggle effect, because this frame holds on for longer. It's like the main frame you see at the end, so I had to add that scribble effect back in. So you get that nice Eddsworld Beyond feel to it. I had to fix up the shoe there because there was a little like gap in between the shoe and the bottom of it. The bottom foam stuff. I don't know what that's called. I don't pay attention. Okay. Making all that into a new symbol. And then doing the head. Same thing I did with the body. Tracing all of it again. Not again, but just tracing the head. Wait, did I already do the head before? Okay, I might have, but I just forgot. And if I did, that's kind of funny, because I had to completely redo it. And I didn't have to. But whatever, animation is done at the moment I'm recording this, so it's not like it matters anyway. I messed up a bit there with the body because I had to extend it a bit so the arm wouldn't look like it was part of it. Because I thought it would have had to go up, which meant it would disconnect, the line art would disconnect from the body. So I had to fix that up. But apparently I was wrong because I animated the original, like, kind of separate piece body animation. I have to look up what that's called. I should know this. The arm actually goes down. He rubs the back of his head downward, so I had to just ignore that and just go along with it. But it turned out all right. And then I had to go frame by frame because I already turned the tween into a frame by frame, so I couldn't just copy and paste it over. So at that point, pretty much the line art, the animation was done, and all I had to do was the coloring, which I thought would have been the easiest part, but then I forgot about Tom's checkered shoes, which took a little bit more of a while. But it only was just like a couple squares, so I was able to do it in about 2 to 3 minutes, I think. And then tracing it over here using the pencil tool. Copying the colored frames and pasting them over. And doing the next thing. String got a bit colored in with the wrong color, so I had to fix the line art for that because it wasn't closed all the way. Shoes, checker patterned shoes. You might hear my air conditioner in the background. It just turned off, so if you do, I'm sorry for that. And then the last two big poses of animation that I had to color in. Right here, baby. It's a bit harder because I had to color in each different part of the body, so I had to use the pencil tool and find little places where the colored parts wouldn't overlap with the other parts of the body. So, like, I didn't want the head coloring to overlap the body line art. But eventually that did not happen, so we were good. The shoes. God, those shoes were trouble, but you know, that's what you got to go through animation. It's just what happens. And that's the moment when I realized I forgot to fill in the teeth on Tom's head. And finally, the arm. And there's the final product. I think it turned out pretty well. Bam, whop. Here's the comparison between the sketch, the rough animation, and the final. Right there for you. Hope you liked it.